Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 3. Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 30. Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 30. Okay, somehow the verse is still not showing.
Prabhu, you're on mute.
Sorry. Asma loka duparate. Asma loka duparate. Mayi jnanam madashrayam. Mayi jnanam madashrayam. Arhatyuddhava evadha. Arhatya uddhava evadha. Sampratyatmavatamvara. Sampratyatmavatamvara. Asma loka duparate. Mayi jnanam madashrayam. Arhatyuddhava evadha. Sampratyatma vatamvara. Asmad, from this universe. Lokad, earth. Uparate, having disappeared. Mayi, of myself. Jnanam, knowledge. Madashrayam, concerning myself. Arhati, deserves. Uddhava, Uddhava. Eva, certainly. Adha, directly. Samprati, at the present moment. Atmavatam, of the devotees. Vara, foremost. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now I shall leave the vision of this mundane world, and I see that Uddhava, the foremost of my devotees, is the only one who can be directly entrusted with the knowledge about me. Once again, now I shall leave the vision of this mundane world, and I see that Uddhava, the foremost of my devotees, is the only one who can be directly entrusted with knowledge about me. Purport. Jnana Madashrayam is significant in this verse. Transcendental knowledge has three departmental divisions, namely knowledge of impersonal Brahman, knowledge of the all-pervading Supersoul, and knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Out of the three, transcendental knowledge of this personality of Godhead has special significance and is known as Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana, specifically knowledge of the personality of Godhead. This specific knowledge is realized by pure devotional service and no other means. Bhagavad Gita 18:55 confirms this. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yashashvi tatvata. Only persons engaged in devotional service can factually know the transcendental position of the Lord. Uddhava was considered to be the best amongst all devotees of that time, and therefore he was directly instructed by the Lord's grace, so that people might take advantage of Uddhava's knowledge after the disappearance of the Lord from the vision of the world. This is one of the reasons why Uddhava was advised to go to Badrik Ashram, where the Lord is personally presented by the Nara-Narayana deity, represented by the Nara-Narayana deity. One who is transcendently advanced can gain direct inspiration from the temple deity, and thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord, in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. Once again, one who is transcendently advanced can gain direct inspiration from the temple deity. And thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalataya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a very wonderful, very amazing verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Here we have text 30. Now I shall leave the vision of this mundane world, and I see that Uddhava, the foremost of my devotees, is the only one who can be directly entrusted with knowledge about me. So it's described actually that Uddhava was just like Krishna. In other words, he was so similar in his bodily features as Krishna that when Uddhava went to Vrindavan to appease the gopis, right, to give them some relief, then the residents of Vrindavan, with the message of Krishna, he went there with the message of Krishna. So we can understand how confidential a devotee of Uddhava was, because Krishna entrusted him with the most confidential message to his most confidential devotees. And of course, we know that he was so dear to the Lord, he was so spiritually advanced, that Krishna wanted him to make more advancement by seeing the gopis. So he was also given that confidential message and that service so that he can make more advancement, which is very interesting, because this is how the Lord and his devotees operate, that sometimes they give a devotee a very important service, and it may appear that they're giving it for the rest of the world, but they may be giving it for the devotee himself. They may be giving the devotee that service so that the devotee can make advancement through that service. So Uddhava, when he goes to Vrindavan, he sees a love for Krishna, a devotion that is unparalleled, that nowhere in the entire world can match. He sees a devotion that he's never seen before, and it completely opens his eyes. He thinks, how is it possible that someone could be so devoted to the Lord, like the gopis of Vrindavan? So Uddhava, when he arrives in Vrindavan, then everyone thinks Krishna has arrived. Initially, they think, oh, Krishna has arrived. Krishna's here, because Uddhava's complexion was also bluish like Lord Krishna. He had lotus eyes like Lord Krishna. He was, dressed like Lord Krishna. He even dressed like Lord Krishna in yellow garments. But then the devotee can always recognize the Lord. Immediately after seeing him, once he was far away, but then coming close, they could immediately understand that this is not Lord Krishna. This is his great devotee, Uddhava. But the point being that his meditation on Lord Krishna was so great that even his bodily features began to manifest, or you could say, even his bodily features became similar to like that of Lord Krishna. And this is actually a quality of a devotee. Srila Prabhupada writes that the disciple meditates so deeply on the instruction of the spiritual master, on the beautiful lotus feet and face of the spiritual master, on the activities of the spiritual master, that in his mannerism and in his looks, the disciple starts to resemble the spiritual master. And this is very true. You'll see that this is the case. Like when Tamal Krishna Maharaj was on this planet, then towards the end of his stay in this world, he was in Mayapur Dham. And when he would walk, when he would talk, he would look just like Srila Prabhupada. I still remember one time going in the Mayapur temple. I'd never seen Maharaj before in person. And he was walking out of the temple and he was very, just absorbed. This was like a week before he left this world. He left it in Mayapur Dham. And he was walking out of the temple room in his very, he used to walk fast with his head slightly tilted down, walking out. It was like a little, bullet, not little, like a bullet coming through the audience. It was like a firebrand coming through. And he was walking alone. There's no like servant or someone next to him. He was just walking through the crowd coming out. And the first moment when I saw him, I still remember thinking for 1 second that did the Prabhupada Murti off of the Vyasasan, is he walking now? I looked at him and I thought, this is Srila Prabhupada. And then I looked over to the Vyasasan. It was such a genuine confusion that I looked over the Vyasasan just to make sure that the deity was still there, that somehow the deity was not being carried down. But his features started to resemble, because his meditation on Srila Prabhupada was so intense. And Prabhupada had mentioned during his lifetime that Tamal Krishna Maharaj is the best grand disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, meaning in one way saying that he was one of his best disciples. And factually speaking, this is because his meditation was on pleasing Srila Prabhupada, his life and soul. The devotee's life and soul is to fulfill the instructions of Krishna's pure devotees, particularly the spiritual master, and so he was like that. Then we see that people in the material world, those who are not absorbed in Krishna or in the spiritual master, who are absorbed in their dogs, in their family members, in their, this and that, they start to get the facial features, the bodily features of those people who they're absorbed in. And very often this happens that, you're driving down on the street and you see a man, and next to him you see a dog. And for a moment you think the dog is a person sitting next to him, because the man driving and the dog, they look so similar. They become so absorbed in their dog, their facial features. There's this one lady I still remember. She, her eyes just looked like birds. Like she was just like, your face, you saw it is just like a little, I don't know, what is it? The pigeon? Like, no, not pigeon. No, it was the parrot. Yeah, you're just like this, and it's just, her face looked like a bird, and then this was part of like an interview, and she was on like YouTube or something, and she was saying how afterwards that how her whole life was her birds. She had these birds, and then her whole life. Oh, the other one, yes, there's this one lady, and she has a tiger as a pet in her home. She keeps a tiger in the backyard. This is, you can see on YouTube. There's many people like this. They have a full like lion or tiger. It's a real accomplishment. Now, in order to keep these animals, they actually say they need to care for them 6 to 8 hours a day. I mean, after all, it's a tiger, you have to feed him 3 hours. They take like loads of meat every day, feed him, then take him for a walk. And they take care of this tiger since it's a little baby. so that, it grows up next to them. So there's a real bond. So the tiger will not attack them. And then, of course, they also give him some medicine to calm him down. It's somehow trying to make a fish live out of water in the same way trying to make a tiger live in your backyard. It's something so artificial, but somehow making it work. And she's saying, I live for my tiger. My tiger's my boy. My tiger's my kids. She didn't have children. And you saw her face. It looked just like a cat. Her face was just like a cat, like a big cat. And when she and her tiger were next to each other, it's like a brother and sister next to each other. So she has this great accomplishment that she has a tiger in her backyard. But what is the result? What is the goal now? That she will become a tiger in her next life. Because the meditation is on the tiger. So whatever we meditate upon day and night, that is what we're able to do. It's a law of nature. If we meditate on the Lord, we will become an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. If we meditate on the spiritual master, we will become the unalloyed devotee of the spiritual master and Krishna. It's non-different. If we meditate on a dog or cat, we will become that. Whatever we meditate upon every day of our life, we will become perfect at. We will become successful at. Krishna will give us the intelligence if the soul has a strong desire. Braja Vilas Prabhu, he came from Mayapur, right? This is a tangent. I'm sorry. I'm going to come back to the purport. But he came from Mayapur, and he's famous for collecting millions of dollars. So he was here, and some devotees were sitting next to him, and one devotee asked him. He said that, how is it, Prabhu, that you stand in front of an audience, and you literally, I've seen in India, he will literally just say something on the microphone, nothing very eloquent, but just he'll start, it's just how important this, that, he'll say something. And then after that, people will give hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on the spot. It's like normally when there's fund collection, there's years of cultivation, friend making before fund making, but you do this. And on the spot, people will give. How is it? What is the trick? How do you do this? And Brajavilas Prabhu, he said two things. He said, first thing was, he said, if you spend more than 10,000 hours doing something, then Krishna gives you the inspiration how to do it. He says, this is a fact. He says, if this is day and night, your only meditation, then Krishna gives you inspiration how to do it. The problem is our meditation is not that. We are doing so many things, and so that is not there. Since we have been talking about this recently, Prabhupada also said this. There's one very nice quote from Srila Prabhupada. He also said this about book distribution, like fundraising, same thing, book distribution. He said that through practice and more practice and more practice, he says, you must master the art of how to present our books so nicely that people will be inspired to take these books. You must learn this trick, he said. And he says it is difficult to learn this trick. It is difficult to do this, but you must master the art through practice and trial and error and again. The same thing is true about cooking for Krishna, right? People will make amazing dishes for Krishna that no ordinary person can do it, simply because their meditation is how to cook the most wonderful items for Krishna. And then what comes out is unreal, because Krishna on one hand is inspiring, and secondly, that's the meditation. The same thing is true about dressing the deities. So like this in all different ways, the same thing is true about chanting. If we chant and very intensely and every day with focus, endeavoring every day, then one day our chanting becomes perfect. One day Srila Prabhupada was chanting, like in the way that he chanted, always so wonderfully. And one disciple said, Srila Prabhupada, your chanting is so nice. Your chanting is so perfect. And Prabhupada said, yes, it took 30 years for me to perfect my chanting. He said 30 or 40, I can't remember, but something like that. So our meditation makes it perfect. So Brajavilas Prabhu said, this, if you do this for 10,000 hours, this is your meditation, then you can do it. And secondly, he said, I chant 3 shlokas. before I do any of these speeches. I chant 3 verses before I do this. And when he said that, then all of us, we're pulling out our phone, record button, setting up this, what are these shlokas? What are this, these mystical secret shlokas? We're going to learn these shlokas, and this is this a mystical mantra. And he said, first shloka, it says, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Buddha Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nam. We'll close the phone back, second shloka, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Adeshatarine. Third shloka, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakti. Because I always chant these 3 mantras and then I go and do it, and then it happens. So it's just such that the point that gets across so nicely is that the process is the same. There's nothing new that we have to learn or make or fabricate. The process is the same. It's the depth with which the devotee is doing it. It's the intensity, it's the devotion that the devotee is doing it that makes it perfect. And the second thing is, again, we see effort and grace. Effort and grace. He was mentioning how he had put more than 10,000 hours doing exactly this. And so one says, oh, it's his technique. Yes, it's technique. But then the second party said, I need to chant these verses. He's praying for the mercy of the Lord. The mercy also has to be there. And so in every activity of devotional service, there's no shortcut. It has to be both these things, our own effort and the mercy of the Lord. And praying for the mercy of the Lord and getting that mercy of the Lord. And if one or the other is lacking, then of course by mercy everything is possible. But the mercy is manifest generally through effort. Krishna, when he sees the effort, then he gives the mercy. Like in the case of Mother Yashoda tying up Damodar. When he saw the effort, he then gave the mercy. So it's effort and mercy both that bring us close to Krishna. And when both of them are there, then it comes. So if we just think that, oh, it's my effort, I made so much effort, I tried so much, I spent thousands of hours with so many rejections, and see now I'm getting success, then that is material consciousness. Because we're thinking it's due to my effort that this result is coming. I put so much hard work, therefore now this program or this project is successful. Yes, we had to put in the effort, and therefore it is successful. One aspect. But the more important aspect, the second aspect, is the mercy. That is the effort that brought the mercy, and it's actually the mercy that made it happen. So our credit is the effort, but the effort is only our credit, not the result. The result came from the mercy of the Lord. The credit is that we got the mercy, that we received the mercy, but it's the mercy that made everything happen, that made it successful. So effort and mercy. So Uddhava, this is a long explanation of the simple point that Uddhava is so deeply meditating on the Lord that his whole form, his mind, his body, everything is become godly, just like the Lord. And therefore Krishna here is saying that Uddhava is the foremost of my devotees. I cannot find anyone more qualified than Uddhava, and therefore I will entrust the knowledge about me with him. And then here, Prabhupada in the purport is explaining that only persons engaged in devotional service can factually know the position of the Lord. And therefore Uddhava could know the Lord, because he was engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada here is quoting the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mama Bijanati, where Krishna is saying that through bhakti you can know me, and only through devotion you can know me. In the same way, we see that almost in every chapter of the Gita, Krishna clarifies that it is only through bhakti that we can know him, know the Lord. When he talks about jnana, then Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamti Samahatma Sudurlava. That the end result of many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge or jnana is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva is my everything. Krishna is my everything. After many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge, one finally comes to the simple conclusion that Krishna is everything. Let me surrender unto him. Therefore, Prabhupada said that if someone is coming to the Krishna consciousness movement and surrendering to Krishna, we must understand that they cultivated many lifetimes of spiritual knowledge and renunciation and sacrifice and piety, that they have come to this conclusion. Then speaking about yoga, in the 6th chapter, Krishna says, Yogi nam api sarvesham mat bhakta yantaratmana. That among all the yogis, the highest yogi is my devotee, my bhakta. So the best jnani is the devotee, the best yogi is the devotee. In chapter 18, Krishna is saying, through bhakti only you can be known. In chapter 12, Arjuna asks that what is better, worshipping your impersonal form or your personal form? And Krishna says that to those who worship me in my personal form out of love, he says, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Their path is very quick, very easy. And he says, those who worship my impersonal form, ajopi sannavyayatma, for them, the path is very troublesome. And at last, one day, they may achieve me when their impersonal worship turns into personal devotional worship. So the best way to attain the Lord is in his personal form through devotion. And because Uddhava was considered the best among devotees, he was instructed by the Lord and advised to visit Badrika Ashram. Why? Because when the Lord leaves, the devotee needs the shelter of the Lord. Just like when the spiritual master leaves, then the disciple feels like an orphan. Where is my spiritual master? Who will give me guidance? Who will protect me? Who will be my guiding light? And so the disciple will take shelter of the Lord, a representative of the spiritual master, someone the spiritual master, guides him to take shelter of. In this way, one feels the presence of the Lord. Now, a devotee like Uddhava feels the presence of the Lord everywhere. So why specifically Badrika Ashram is being described here? He feels the presence because Krishna is present everywhere, but he is most present in his deity form in the temple. This is achintya bheda bheda, right? This is the achintya, inconceivable part. Krishna is everywhere, the devotee is seeing the Lord everywhere. But still, the devotee misses the Lord. This is a nice question, right? If Krishna is everywhere, especially in the heart of the devotee, why would the devotee feel separation from Krishna? In the same way, if the disciple, pure disciple, always sees the spiritual master everywhere, then why would he miss the spiritual master? And His Holiness Indradumna Swami Maharaj asked this question from Srila Prabhupada, that if we see you everywhere, Prabhupada, why would we miss you? And Prabhupada said that he told him that when you will advance spiritually, then you will understand. Then you will understand. Because even though the Lord is present everywhere, but still the Lord is not there in front of the devotee. The devotee is missing the Lord. Even though the presence is completely tangible and the spiritual master is guiding the disciple and the Lord is guiding the devotee, but still the Lord is still a person and the devotee is missing. The Lord has become unmanifest from our physical vision, from our vision in front of us. And so therefore, the deity of the Lord is the actual replacement for the Lord, because the deity is actually there, and the deity in the temple speaks to the pure devotee, to the unalloyed devotee. And that's the last sentence in the purport that Prabhupada is saying here, very prophetic words. He's saying that one who is transcendently advanced can get direct inspiration from the temple deity. And thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. So a devotee will go to a place of pilgrimage and take shelter of a deity to make tangible advancement. Because even though he has his own deities, and there's so many deities, and Krishna is present everywhere, but still the devotee is, but even for those pure devotees who see the Lord like that, even for them, that's the point, even for them, the temple and the temple deity has a special significance. Because the Lord has intentionally and explicitly agreed to manifest in the temple due to the prayers of the devotees. Final comment, when Mother Malati, when she was here, then she was mentioning, I asked her, like, we have deities at our home, so how often should I go? Should I go to the temple or not? Or should people go? Like, is it important? How often should we go? And she said that we should go every day to the temple. We should visit the temple every day. We see in Srila Prabhupada's life when he was a householder, as a child, and also in his adult age, he would go every day to have darshan of the Radha Govinda deity, which was the temple of his village, of his area. And he would go there every day to have darshan of the deity in the temple, even though his father had deities at home. He and his sister, his sister's name was, it's on the tip of my tongue. What's his sister's name? Prabhupada's, huh?
Bhavatarini?
No, it wasn't Bhavatarini, no. Prabhupada's sister's name was, we all know. Bhishima, yes, Bhishima, yes. Yes, so Bhishima and Prabhupada would go there, and Prabhupada writes, for hours we would gaze on the deity of the Lord, simply on the beauty of Radha Govinda. Because just taking darshan of the Lord is a service, just appreciating the beauty of the Lord. So they would stand and observe the Artik ceremony of the Lord. So Mother Malati said that the deities in the temple are millions of times more powerful than the deities at your home. Most likely. I mean, some of us are, some of you are pure devotees, and there's that, then it's no difference. But they're thousands of times or millions of times more potent because so many devotees are worshiping them. There's a standard that's been agreed to that is, so there's a special mercy there in the place of pilgrimage, in the temple. And Prabhupada said very clearly that the service that we do to the temple deity, that same service is offered to our home deities. So Krishna will also appreciate that service and accepts that service. So we can't skip it, but we can do it in the temple or at the home. It's the same thing. Now, of course, we can have some basic thing like I'll still come home and offer incense and a lamp and a flower to my deity. But maybe I'll skip the whole artik because I did the artik at the temple. So like this. So this is the sort of kind of the significance of the temple. And this temple is very significant because the advanced devotees of the Lord congregate there. A place of pilgrimage is a place of pilgrimage because the saints reside there and they invite the Lord to come there. So it's significant because of the devotees that reside there, the devotees who serve there, the devotees who have called the deity there. And we see that every temple deity, authorized temple, is a manifestation of the heart of a particular devotee. And we see that, Madan Mohan is a manifestation of the heart of Sanatana Goswami. His devotion to Krishna in the particular way that he loved and served Krishna, the particular rasa that he was serving Krishna, was Madan Mohan. And therefore, the deity manifested as Madan Mohan. For Srila Rupa Goswami, the rasa that he was approaching the Lord was Govindaji. So therefore he manifests as Radha Govinda. Srila Prabhupada's, was Radha Shyama in Vrindavan. And here also, we have Radha Shyama and Radha Madhav, both Vrindavan and Mayapur here. And those are the manifestation of the meditation of the very great advanced devotees here. So it's by the calling of a great devotee that the Lord appears in a temple, and that's why those deities have immense power, because the pure devotee is called the Lord there, and so therefore the Lord is there to oblige the words and desire of the pure devotee. And therefore, though we are not qualified, the Krishna has agreed to come there, and that is the benediction, because of the devotee's calling. So we can never bring Madan Mohan to manifest, but Sanatan Goswami has brought him, and now he's there, so we can take advantage of his presence there. Similarly, we cannot have the power to bring Radha Shyam here to Naperville, but some great devotee has invited him here, has desired that they come here, and therefore they're here. So yes. So I'll stop here, and we can have any comments, questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for very beautiful discussion. Especially the meditation part is really, really touching. Particularly how we can feel the presence of spiritual master and Krishna. Of course, you were describing the deities in the temple, but also how we can take that meditation to follow the service. So that was very powerful. And the example of His Grace, Rajavilas Prabhu. I mean, he's just so amazing. Like, how is it possible? It feels. I have heard few stories about him. And I was also thinking about the book distribution aspect, as you were mentioning, just witnessing you last evening. It's literally like magic. Even the people who were apprehensive, it's like, happily taking the books. It's really that mercy component, as you're highlighting. It's not just simply our skill of speaking or outreach or whatever, but it's really the intention along with the the effort, the intention and sincerity. I think Krishna is kind and he will send the mercy. So that's what I was witnessing, and it was so joy for any services that you do to show how we can approach that service with sincerity in the heart, and how we can experience the joy ourselves and give that to others. So that was very beautiful. I wanted to ask a question regarding the 10,000 hours, Prabhu. I have heard that through my, education and training in General Electric Company, that in order to become expert at anything, even in a material realm, that 10,000 hours is like the minimum, even playing violin or whatever they say. So, and we see people, I have actually, heard few talks where people talk about it, how they became expert in some academic fields or whatever. But this component of mercy. So when we put this effort, let's say sincerely, even material motives, we can't say that has to attract the mercy. What I mean to say, it's not necessary and sufficient. Lord's mercy is independent. We just can't say, oh, I'm putting the effort, so Krishna has to give the mercy. He doesn't have any, option or choice.
Yes.
So how does this work in a material sense?
Yes. Like in the case of Brajvilas Prabhu, he was, he is also carrying immense mercy behind him. I remember the person before him who was fundraising for Mayapur, same thing, like it was unbelievable. Now he's not doing, now Braj Vilas was doing, how much they would collect. And it's because sometimes when there's the intense desire of an acharya like Srila Prabhupada, then whoever is trying to fulfill that will get that mercy. Because Prabhupada wants it, he's making it happen. It has to happen because he wants it. And we get the good fortune to be in that pathway of making it happen. And therefore, Prabhu was making both of those points, like you're saying, that the intense effort has to be there. And at the same time, the intense effort has to be there, but at the same time, the mercy factor is very important, is very major in this. So it's the mercy and it's the effort both that make a difference. And the same thing in terms of book distribution. I was just thinking that Prabhupada wanted it so much. He gave so much mercy behind it. And that's why we really carry like a powerful, syringe of mercy. And just a little effort in that field makes so much come. Or someone completely unqualified can do it because of that mercy. In other fields, there may be also the desire of the pure devotee, but maybe it's not as, you could say, pronounced. So we have to make more effort. The pure devotee is just as pleased in every field, but because specifically this was a desire of a pure devotee in a certain area, it's easier. So other fundraising projects which are equally dear to Srila Prabhupada may have more of an uphill struggle than the Mayapur project, which was predicted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which Srila Prabhupada, everything, it's his headquarters, the world headquarters, and it's Lord Chaitanya's abode, and Lord Chaitanya is sitting right there. I mean, it's Lord Chaitanya's, powerful, not just syringe, it's like the fire brigade water pipe. It's just a flow of mercy that no one can stop. So depending on the Lord, but depending on the Lord, the result will come to that degree. But either way, the devotee is happy that he's doing what the Lord wants him to do, that this is my service, and Krishna will make it successful based upon his desire, how things should develop. But sometimes the Lord wants things to develop slowly, but it doesn't. It's just what his desire is at that point for the development. So in terms of the hours, the technique part is in perfect compatibility with the mercy part. The 10,000 hours rule, that holds true in material life and in spiritual life. And that will make a person very skilled in any field. But the degree of desire of the pure devotee and the degree of our sincerity will determine how much success manifests in that particular place, in that particular service. Another example is like in the Dumna Maharaj, he tells about his own life that he served for so many years in France and very little progress, very little success. As dedicatedly, he was serving in France. That was like his main yatra for years he served. And then he went to Poland. He thought, well, okay, I'll just try, some. And within 1 year, he did more than what he did in a whole 15 years in France. In Poland, it just exploded. Now, was Krishna less pleased, or was there less mercy in a service in Paris, in France, and Krishna was more pleased in Poland? No, he was equally pleased within the Dumna Maharaj in both places. In fact, maybe even more in Paris, and maybe he made even more sacrifices for the Lord there. But what mattered to him was the pleasure of the Lord, that he's doing what Prabhupada and Krishna wanted him to do. And the pleasure of the Lord was the same, but in Poland, Krishna wanted to glorify the Sankirtan movement and glorify him and make it expand in a certain way that was ordained. So that's kind of the thing there, that that it's a very it's very wonderful. The desire of the pure devotee, the desire of the Lord, and our effort, all these things, they manifest in bringing a result. But just because the result is not there doesn't mean that there's even slightly less sincerity. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj didn't expand the movement hardly anything in terms of, he didn't establish even one temple probably, but he was a celebrated acharya, greatest devotee of the Lord. So yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you for bringing that pure devotee's desire into the equation. That's very beautiful, and I think very pertinent for us to meditate and pray, and and I also like the way the success not just in terms of our material calculations, but really going deeper and see how our absorption is increasing and how the Lord and spiritual master and the devotees are pleased. Very beautiful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I know it's 8:21, so it was very nice class. Prabhu, can you hear us? Yeah. Oh. His video is frozen. Okay, devotees, I think we can end. Maybe might be having internet problems. Thank you all so much. It's 8:22 anyway. Hare Krishna.